Some people slowly disappear from the world. They stop replying as much, they go quiet for days, sometimes weeks. Not because they hate people, not because they want to be alone forever, but because every interaction starts feeling heavier than it should. And most people never notice what's actually happening. From the outside, they look distant, cold, disconnected. People assume they're antisocial, awkward, emotionally unavailable. But psychology shows something much deeper. Some people don't avoid connection because they dislike others. They avoid it because their brain experiences social interaction differently. For them, conversation is never just conversation. Even in normal situations, their mind stays fully alert. They're noticing tone, facial expressions, micro reactions, pauses, energy shifts, even the things people don't say. And while everyone else seems relaxed, their brain keeps processing everything at once, constantly analyzing, constantly decoding, constantly monitoring the emotional atmosphere around them. Which is why even good social experiences can become exhausting, even around people they genuinely like. Psychologists often describe this as high cognitive sensitivity, or nervous system over-arousal. It means the brain processes social information more intensely than average, so situations that feel energizing to others can quietly overload you instead. And the strange part is, the exhaustion doesn't end when the interaction ends. Long after leaving, your mind keeps replaying moments, analyzing reactions, questioning small details, trying to figure out whether you said the wrong thing or missed something important. That's why you can enjoy being around people and still disappear afterward, still need days to recover, sometimes longer. Not because you hate socializing, but because your brain never truly stops processing it. And over time, another problem starts appearing. You begin losing patience for shallow conversation. Not because you can't socialize, but because surface-level interaction starts feeling emotionally empty. How was your day? What's new? Did you see that video? For most people, these small exchanges are enough to maintain connection. But for you, they feel repetitive, predictable, disconnected from anything real. You don't crave constant conversation. You crave depth, something honest, something emotionally alive. A conversation that actually feels meaningful to be inside of. And when you're surrounded by interactions that feel artificial, your energy disappears even faster. Psychology shows that some people are naturally wired to seek emotional depth and cognitive stimulation in conversation, which is why surface-level environments can feel strangely isolating, even when you're surrounded by people. You might sit quietly in a crowded room, listening to everyone speak, while internally feeling completely disconnected from the conversation around you. It isn't a lack of social ability, and it isn't that you don't know how to connect. You just stopped finding meaning in conversations that feel automatic. Routine interaction starts feeling emotionally empty after a while. Because of that, you can end up feeling disconnected in environments where small talk dominates. And people often misunderstand that silence. They assume you're shy, uninterested, closed off, when in reality, your mind is searching for something deeper than surface-level exchange. And eventually, another shift begins happening. Solitude starts feeling safer than social interaction. Not lonely, not depressing, safe, predictable, quiet. For you, being alone feels emotionally manageable in a way social environments often don't. And this usually doesn't happen by accident. Psychology shows that when interactions repeatedly feel overwhelming, disappointing, or emotionally draining, the nervous system slowly adapts. Your brain begins associating solitude with relief, with control, with emotional stability, while social interaction starts becoming connected to tension and mental exhaustion. This is a form of emotional conditioning. The more misunderstood or overstimulated you felt around people in the past, the more your mind learns to treat isolation like protection, which creates a strange contradiction. You can genuinely enjoy people, care deeply about connection, and still feel safer alone. Because your nervous system isn't reacting to whether people are good or bad, it's reacting to how exhausting the experience feels internally. Solitude becomes a form of self-regulation, a way to recover, to quiet the mental noise, to exist without constantly processing emotional information. And people who don't experience this rarely understand it. They only see the distance, not the exhaustion behind it. And in social situations, your mind rarely fully relaxes. You're hyper-aware almost all the time. You notice how you're speaking, how people react, how your words land. Your tone, your body language, their facial expressions, tiny shifts in energy most people completely miss. While everyone else seems naturally present in the interaction, part of your attention stays trapped in analysis. You're talking, but also monitoring yourself in real time. Did that sound strange? Did they misunderstand me? Was that response normal? Psychologically, this creates a constant internal feedback loop. Your brain keeps scanning for subtle social signals while simultaneously trying to participate in the conversation itself. Which is why even short interactions can feel mentally draining afterward. And this hyper-awareness isn't always insecurity. Sometimes it's simply deeper social processing. Your brain notices more, feels more, analyzes more layers at once. But the downside is, everything starts feeling heavier. Alone, that pressure disappears. There's no need to monitor yourself, no need to decode reactions. No invisible performance happening in the background, which is why solitude can feel strangely peaceful compared to social environments, even when part of you still wants connection. And over time, you begin realizing something else. It's not always people that exhaust you most. It's the invisible expectations attached to them. Replying fast enough, checking in consistently, keeping conversations alive, explaining why you disappeared, remembering when to respond, making sure nobody feels ignored. The pressure slowly builds in ways other people rarely notice. Because for you, social interaction doesn't end when the conversation ends. You're not just talking to people. A lot of the time, it feels like you're performing for them, trying to meet invisible standards that never fully make sense. Reply fast enough, sound interested enough, stay socially available enough, keep the interaction alive long enough. And eventually, it becomes exhausting. Psychology shows that people like you naturally resist unnecessary social performance. You don't want to force connection simply to satisfy expectations, which is why disappearing can sometimes feel more honest than pretending you still have energy for interaction, even with people you genuinely care about. Because the pressure often isn't the relationship itself, it's the maintenance surrounding it, the constant social upkeep, the feeling that you always need to remain emotionally accessible. So when you withdraw, it usually isn't rejection, it's self-preservation. Your mind starts protecting its energy by reducing unnecessary emotional obligations. But from the outside, people often misread that distance as coldness or indifference, when the reality is much quieter than that. And when difficult emotions appear, you usually process them internally. You don't immediately reach for support. You reflect first, analyze first, sit with the feeling first. Psychology refers to this as emotional self-reliance. Over time, your brain learned how to regulate itself without constantly depending on reassurance from other people, which can make you incredibly resilient. But it also changes your relationship with connection. For many people, social interaction is how they process emotion. For you, processing happens privately. If something stressful happens, you may spend hours replaying it internally, trying to understand it on your own, instead of immediately calling someone to talk about it. Your coping mechanisms became introspective, quiet, internal. And because of that, connection can start feeling optional instead of necessary, which often confuses people who rely on constant interaction to feel emotionally stable. And another thing people misunderstand about you is how selective you are. You don't want endless connections. You want meaningful ones. Psychologically, you prioritize emotional alignment over social quantity. You carefully observe who truly deserves access to your energy, your attention, your inner world, which is why your circle often stays small on purpose, not because you failed socially, but because shallow connections stopped feeling valuable to you a long time ago. The people you allow close are usually people you trust deeply, people who feel emotionally real, and to you, that matters far more than having a large social life. You're also unusually comfortable with silence. You don't feel the need to constantly fill empty space with words. Silence doesn't automatically feel awkward to you. Sometimes it feels peaceful, grounding, safe. While other people rush to avoid quiet moments, you can simply exist inside them. Psychologically, this often reflects an introspective nervous system. You don't require constant stimulation to feel connected or validated, which is why loud, high-energy, socially performative environments can start feeling emotionally draining very quickly. And eventually, you begin choosing peace over presence. You stop forcing yourself into interactions that feel superficial, draining, or emotionally disconnected, even if it means spending more time alone. And if you recognize yourself in this video, understand this: there is nothing wrong with experiencing the world differently. There is nothing wrong with needing solitude, wanting depth, protecting your energy, or feeling disconnected from environments that demand constant performance. Some minds simply process the world more deeply than others, and because of that, they need different things to feel emotionally balanced. So if this resonated with you, you're not the only one. This channel exists for the quiet ones, the observant ones, the thoughtful people who often feel misunderstood by the world around them. And the next video explores another behavior people like you are constantly judged for, without anyone realizing what's actually happening underneath it.